Okay, assuming you have your screen set up the way you like it, this is a personal preference only. These bars can be anywhere you want to have them. Slide them around, add or remove buttons. You just click on it, come down here. This one happens to be for the dimensioning hatch. Just turn on or turn off, whichever ones you want to use. These are just the most common ones that I find myself using, so I've just selected the ones that I want and placed them on the screen where I like them. These are all the ones that I use mostly for the everyday drawing. Down the right side I keep my toolpath commands over here, 3D on the bottom, and the solid simulation on the left with the zoom views over here. But you put them wherever you want them. It's strictly a personal preference. There is also, everything is in the pull down menus. Some of this is grayed out because we don't have anything drawn yet. You just scroll through these and you can find them, and then you can select them right from the pull down menus. There are some special geometries under the geometry, the polygons and these, but those are also in these toolbars that you can put up here. So we'll start off with just drawing a square. So we'll pick the rectangle. Down here, the command bar always asks you what you want to do, so it's a good idea to keep an eye on this down here. Just wanting to know the first corner. Well, I always draw out of 0, 0, X and Y. So I'll just hit enter for X, enter for 0. We'll start off with a 30-inch square. So we'll just come down here. I don't have to highlight these or anything because it's already highlighted because it's asking me for the second square. So I'm just going to hit 30, enter, 30, enter. That gives me my square. Now this stays in whatever command you were in until you escape or OK. I'm just going to right click for escape. And let's put some holes in the inside of this part here. So I'm going to offset, and we'll go with 1 inch, and geometry. And I'm going to select the line, move to the inside there, select again, and that put me a full geometry line around the inside of that. There's a couple of ways to do this. We'll put a couple of holes in here this way first. I don't have to exit this command because I'm going to go right into another command. So I'm selecting my circles, center and diameter, and let's put in a 0.5 diameter hole. Select OK. Now it's wanting to know where. Well, I don't want to have to give it I don't want to do the math to figure out the coordinates. I know that I want a hole at the end of each one of these lines. So I'm going to use F6 for the end of. I have to pick again to bring that hole back. And I'm going to hit F6 for end of. It's my graphics card that makes that line disappear. Normally it will stay there, but because of the video, that line disappears sometimes. I'm going to select again, end of F6. Click again to bring that hole back. You have to do this every time you bring that hole back. F6 for the end of. And I'm going to right click to get rid of that. Now I can just simply delete that. Right click, OK. And now I have my holes that are 1 inch in from each side of that. Let's do the offset again. And I don't need a geometry line. I'm just going to do an individual line pick. So I'll just go with a construction line. And we'll set that, say, 2 inches. Okay, I'll pick that line. And this will just pick individual lines. When I selected geometry, it picked the entire square. So I'm just going to offset inside these individuals. Now I can Go pick that hole again. We'll just leave it at a 1/2 inch diameter hole. Okay. I'm going to use F9, which is the intersection of, so I want my hole right on that intersection. So I'm going to pick that line and pick that line. Now again, I have to click to bring my hole back. F9 for the intersection of. It doesn't really matter where at I click this line, because it's going to go to the intersection of the previous line. Intersection of, so I can pick clear over here and clear down here, because it's just going to make the intersection of there for me. Intersection of there and there. Right click to get rid of it. Also want to put a hole in the middle of, so we'll go back and pick that hole, keep it to 1/2 inch. I'm going to use F7, which is the middle of this line. F7, middle of, right click. So that is your F6, F7, F8, F9. Those are used a lot. F6 is the end of. Let's delete these construction lines. There's also another way. I'll undo that command. There's also another way. You can just come over here into the project manager page. That's under view, show project manager. I always keep my layers and operations and simulation on. Those are the only 3 that I ever really use. But you can turn off the geometries. You can turn off the construction lines. There aren't any toolpaths or anything else on here to turn off or on. But if you want to leave those construction lines, you just don't want to look at them, you can come over here and shut them off. I'm done with them. I don't need to come back to them again, so I'm just going to delete them and get them out of here. Let's put some dimensions on here. This little ruler is the dimension. And we'll start off with diameter. Configure, that just sets my text height and the arrow length. I've got a pretty good sized drawing here, so I'm going to need a fairly good sized dimension line. 1 inch is really good. That's a 1/2 inch hole, so 1 inch will be an easy line to see. And I'm going to just select a hole. Now notice if I scroll in with my mouse wheel, as long as I have my pointer inside of that hole, I can rotate and orient this arrow to whatever direction I want to pull the line out of. Once I'm outside of that line, it won't rotate around there anymore. So you have to be inside to rotate the dimension line. So we'll just pull that down here. Now I can use my zoom wheel and scroll in or out, or I can just come up here to zoom all, and it'll just recenter everything for me. Let's go with just a general alignment dimension. I want to know what the size of this part is, so I'll select the line. It works in X and Y both with the alignment dimension. Now I need to know where those holes are, so we'll pick horizontal, and I'll go from the end of to the center of. F6 was end of, F8 is center of, and we'll go F6 for the end of this line. There again, I can pick that line as long as I'm on the lower half of that line. It will pick that end. If I get above the center, see how it snaps up to that end. So it's whichever end of the line you're hovering over is the end of the line it's going to pick. F8 for center of, and so on. F6, F center, right click. I'm just going to undo those dimensions. We'll go with X ordinate and Y ordinate. This is a pretty clean way to throw dimensions onto your drawing, and a lot of times when you're copying somebody else's drawings, that's what they've done. So I'm in X ordinate, so I'm going to go to the end of, but I also have to pick it again. See, it's still wanting to know where my starting point is for X and Y. So the end of, again, now it gives me my reference point. Now I can select F8 for center of, F8 center of, and then back to F6 for the end of. You can also go up here and pick this one if you want to pull that dimension line all the way down through, because it's always referencing off of this line as long as you're in X ordinate. Sometimes you'll see drawings where the dimension line goes clear to the far hole. Cancel that. We'll go to at Y ordinate. And again, F6, and F6 gives me my reference. F8 is center of, F8, and so on. F6. That's a basic drawing and dimensioning.